What's poppin', guys? Welcome back to the Reactors channel. We're gonna be reacting to this website, Rotten Tomatoes, and we're gonna be reacting to this website telling us the top 15 movies of the MCU via Rotten Tomatoes. And let me tell you guys, this is a pretty crazy ass list. Let me get. Oh, give me a second. Pretty crazy ass list. You guys are not gonna believe this list, and the reason why I felt like we need to go ahead and check this website is because I wanted to watch this Barbie movie, right? Like the Barbie movie that everyone has been wanting and has been going to the theaters to watch. And I checked the Rotten Tomatoes. The Rotten Tomatoes were very good. So I was like, okay, the Rotten Tomatoes are very good, so the movie is gonna be great. And I'm not gonna go in details about the Barbie movie because I am gonna release a video regarding that. I do have really strong feelings about it. So I'm not gonna talk a lot about it, but the Rotten Tomatoes thing really got to me, and I was like, let's check if Rotten Tomatoes are really a factor that you should consider while before watching a movie. So I searched them up on Google and searched top 15 MCU movies rated by Rotten Tomatoes. And let's go ahead and check this list out. Guys, once you start coming in, do not forget to like the video. Trying to get to 10 likes, only 10 likes today, not asking for much. 10 likes, and subscribe if you already haven't. But initially, let's get to 10 likes and then we can move forward from there. I know none of you guys have joined yet, but we will start joining after a few days of live streaming, I know for a fact. So starting off with is Avengers Infinity War is number 15 on this list. So what they're telling me is there are 14 better movies than Avengers Infinity War in the MCU. There's 14 better movies than Infinity War in the MCU. That's what they're claiming. And a lot of people, my friends, my inner circle, and a lot of people that I know have said Infinity War is probably the best movie they've seen in the MCU. The best or the second best. It's always an argument between Endgame and Infinity War. Definitely not number 15 on the list, on anybody's list except Rotten Tomatoes. So Avengers Infinity War, I don't know how this is number 15 on the list, especially when Ant-Man and the Wasp is number 14 on the list. So that means that Ant-Man and the Wasp was better than Infinity War. Look, I don't really take box office seriously when it comes to rating movies because a lot of movies make a lot of money and they turn out to be trash. So box office is not the main indicator of whether the movie is great or not. But Infinity War did a business of at least $2 billion. $2 billion, right? Ant-Man was probably close to the 800, $900 million range. I don't know for a fact, so do not quote me on that, but it's a lot less than Avengers Infinity War. That's a fact. And secondly, I've seen both movies. I'm not saying Ant-Man and the Wasp wasn't great. What I'm just saying is that it was definitely not better than Avengers Infinity War. Avengers Infinity War was the finale of all these movies, and it was the best finale you could receive by a franchise. And that's what we received. We loved Avengers Infinity War. At least I did. I know for a fact a lot of people did as well. It had great writing, had great direction by Anthony Russo and Joe Russo as well. And then the cast was star-studded. So I cannot believe that Avengers Infinity War is number 15 on this list. And Ant-Man and the Wasp is number 14, even though it was really good, really nice movie. It was, if you guys don't know, it was Paul Rudd's and Evangeline Lilly's movie Ant-Man and the Wasp. Pretty good movie, but definitely not higher than Infinity War in anyone's list. And then as we proceed, Doctor Strange is number 13 ahead of Avengers Infinity War and Ant-Man and the Wasp. So Doctor Strange was one of the better movies we've seen. I actually enjoyed Doctor Strange a lot more than the Captain America movies. The first two Captain America movies, I felt like it had the perfect amount of magic, the perfect amount of comedy, had a very good plot and story, and I actually enjoyed it. Felt like it was different. It was a very different superhero movie. And I think this Doctor Strange, the first Doctor Strange movie, deserves to be higher on the list rather than being number 13 overall. But definitely better than Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's that's given. I know, guys. I know vaping is not a good thing to do. It's not good for health at all. I'm trying to quit as well, but it's very hard to quit. I will in the near future. So just give me time. So number 13, number 12, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. A lot of people would disagree with this as well, as a lot of people love Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and I'm talking about the Marvel geeks. The Marvel geeks think of Captain America, the Winter Soldier as the best Captain America movie, and it's a pretty good movie. Number 12 for me is the right place for it. I'm not gonna disagree with the Rotten Tomato just because I want to disagree with them. I'm just gonna say number 12 is a pretty good rating out of 15 Marvel movies. Could be a little bit higher, but the thing about Winter Soldier was that it was it was an incredibly directed movie. Had a good story, had a lot of action, but it just did not feel like a superhero movie. It felt like more of a spy movie to me. Perhaps because it had Captain America, someone who does not have superpowers, and then you had the Black Widow, another superhero that does not have superpowers. Nick Fury was in the movie, another person in the MCU that did not have any superpowers. So that's why I probably felt like this wasn't a superhero movie. And although it did receive 90% Rotten Tomatoes, it was number 12 on this list. And then number 11, Captain America Civil War, is number 11 on this list. It's very high to be on this list for Captain America Civil War. I felt like this was the best Captain America movie, better than the first one and better than the second Captain America movie. Civil War made me fall in love with Iron Man, man. Iron Man and Robert Downey Jr. Until this day, I still remember the scene where Iron Man comes to the cave. He finds his recording of Bucky, Captain America's best friend, Bucky killing his mother, and then that iconic fight scene starts. And I would definitely rate this higher than 11 on the list. Probably top 6, top 5 movie on my personal list. And then the reason why I say this should be higher on this list is because how do you rate Spider-Man Far From Home higher than Captain America Civil War, where Spider-Man was actually introduced in the MCU? Spider-Man was introduced in Civil War, and Spider-Man Far From Home becomes a better movie than Civil War. Are you kidding me? Civil War was the turning point in the MCU saga. And then Spider-Man Far From Home was a good movie, but it wasn't definitely better than Civil War and Infinity War. Are you telling me that Spider-Man Far From Home grabbed more audience than Civil War and Infinity War? I don't know who is making this list. Seems like a teenager that hasn't seen the older movies, the older Iron Man movies, because they came out in 2008 and they weren't alive to see those movies. Because number 9 on this list is Shang-Chi and the Legend of freaking Ten Rings. How do you rate this movie higher than all these other movies? Spider-Man Far From Home, Civil War, Infinity War. Shang-Chi was a very ordinary movie, to say the least. Shang-Chi was Um, the CGI was okay, it wasn't incredible. The writing was pretty ordinary to say the least. Pretty ordinary to say the least. Shang-Chi was a cash grab movie, which had very little story to it, very stupid ending to it. Didn't have an ending that would make people jump out of their seats. And after all that, they rate this movie ahead of Avengers Infinity War. That's why I'm not trusting Rotten Tomatoes anymore. Rotten Tomatoes used to be a good indicator of which movie is a good movie to watch, but now from this list makes me think that it's just a BS indicator of what movies to watch and what movies not to watch. Gotta drink water, man. So critics' consensus says thanks to a script that emphasizes its heroes' humanity and wealth. Sorry, that's number 8. Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings. Consensus says Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings isn't entirely free of Marvel's familiar formula, but this is exciting origin story expands the MCU in more ways than one. What part of this movie was exciting, and how was this origin story unique from any other origin story? Tell me that. Just because it was produced in China and you guys wanted to grab all that money from China's population, they think that Disney and MCU really thinks that we're really that stupid. We know that they created Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings because of the Chinese population throughout the world and in China. So they had to give China a superhero. And then number 12 on the list is Marvel's The Avengers. They have this named Marvel's The Avengers. First time I'm hearing it being called that. Well, what they're referring to is The Avengers, the movie that came out in 2012, the first Avengers movie where all the superheroes gathered for the very first time. And was it pretty I loved this movie when it came out. First seeing this movie when I was very young. When I was very young, did not see any other movies back then, did not see all the movies that came before the Avengers, but I saw this movie because it was being advertised on Disney Channel, and I was so young that I used to watch Disney Channel at that time, and always had a thing with superhero movies as a kid, as a lot of kids do. A lot of boys and girls, they love superhero movies, so this was like the first superhero movie I was able to watch. Although it was PG-13, I was younger than 13 years old, but I didn't understand the movie at that time because I was so young and I couldn't appreciate the movie, especially all the dialogues and all the writing. But I enjoyed the CGI when I watched it when I was a young kid, and then I rewatched it when I was binge watching all the movies, so it made sense, so it can make sense to me. And Avengers was a pretty good movie. The CGI was good for its time. It wasn't bad. It was very good for its time. As Marvel grew, it became better. It definitely became better, the CGI, but for its time, Marvel's The Avengers, Marvel's The Avengers was a very good movie for its time. And then they have Guardians of the Galaxy #1 that came out in 2014 ahead of all these movies. So Guardians of the Galaxy was a good movie. The whole franchise was good. I'm not gonna argue with about that. Chris Pratt really performed good as Peter Quill, but I don't know why. I just didn't fall in love with the Guardians of the Galaxy. There was nothing wrong with it. It was a pretty good movie. It had a lot of comedy, but um, none of the characters made me fall in love with them. None of the characters made me, let's say, if they were feeling sad, none of the characters made me feel sad. Iron Man did that for me to an extent. Captain America did that for me. Um, so Iron Man really had my sympathy throughout all the movies because of his great acting and his great writing and everything that he did in the MCU, right, Iron Man? But in Guardians of the Galaxy, not one character really just grabbed my attention like that. It was a good movie. I enjoyed the movie. Definitely not saying that it was a great movie, but if it was my personal list, and I think a lot of people would agree with me that Infinity War would be rated higher than Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 6 on the list, Spider-Man Homecoming. Are you telling me Spider-Man Homecoming was better than Avengers Infinity War? This list just gets dumb and dumber as the list goes on. So critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes. Spider-Man Homecoming does whatever a second reboot can, delivering a colorful, fun adventure that fits snugly in the sprawling MCU without getting bogged down in the franchise building. And does that mean it's the top six? It's the sixth best movie in the MCU. It's better than Guardians of the Galaxy. It was a good, okay movie. It was an extraordinary. They capitalized on, um, what is this? This is the first movie, right? This is the first Spider-Man movie, or is that the second Spider-Man movie? No, this is the first Spider-Man movie. Homecoming. Okay, Spider-Man Far From Home was number 10. Spider-Man Homecoming, the very first Spider-Man movie, which had Iron Man in it as well, bits and pieces, not wholly in the movie, but he had a pretty good role in it. Spider-Man Homecoming, the first Spider-Man movie in the MCU, is way too high on this list. It's not better than Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not even better than all the 3 movies that were made by Sony and with Sony in the 2000s. This is all the Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3 movies with Peter Maguire. Spider-Man Homecoming was not better than that, and they have this listed as number 6, rated better than Guardians of the Galaxy, rated better than the Winter Soldier, rated better than Infinity War, rated better than Doctor Strange 1. So that's how you know these people do not know what they're doing, man. RottenTomatoes.com is a website that you guys should not check out while trying to go to the theater and see which movie is good and which movie is not, because from this tells me that they have no idea what they're doing. Number 5 on the list, Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home, the movie which had Doctor Strange in it, the movie that came out a couple years ago. Was it a couple years or a year ago? Yeah, 2021. So 2 years ago it came out. I would say you can put this movie in the list at number 5 if you have Avengers Infinity War, Endgame, and Winter Soldier placed correctly. No Way Home was a better movie than Homecoming, but Homecoming and No Way Home cannot be 5 and 6. Homecoming has to be around 15 to 16 range, where No Way Home could be on 6 to 7 range on the list. It could be top 6, top 7 on the MCU top 15 list. Cannot be right next to Homecoming, because No Way Home was a pretty good movie. It had very small Doctor Strange scenes, which I did not enjoy. I wanted Doctor Strange to be more in the movie rather than the small bits and pieces that he had. And then all the Spider-Mans from different universes joining together really impressed the audience. That's why I guess the Rotten Tomatoes have rated this as a top 5 movie in the MCU. So Thor Ragnarok is number 4 after Spider-Man No Way Home. Finally, they get something right. Thor Ragnarok, I could definitely seeing it being number 4. It was the best Thor movie in everyone's opinion. Better than Thor: Love and Thunder, which which was terrible, which was disgusting. The way they portrayed Thor, Thor after Infinity War and Endgame, and the way they did not utilize Kristen Bale's acting skills as Gore, and they ruined Thor: Love and Thunder because of the amount of comedy they implemented in the movie. They could have made so much more out of that movie if they hadn't done stupid things, introducing all this woke shit as well. So don't mind my language, guys, but it really gets me pissed off uh, when movies ruin their franchise because of this woke stuff. They have to force in our throats. Like literally, they put so much woke stuff in that movie that pissed me off. And then let's say, okay, you want to put woke stuff, go for it, right? You want to put woke stuff, go ahead, put woke stuff, but at least make the movie interesting. They had literally no storyline, and we can speak about Thor: Love and Thunder in any other video. So if you guys wanna, um, if you guys want me to create a movie review regarding Thor: Love and Thunder, leave that down in the comment section, and like and subscribe, and let me know that you guys need a movie review, because I can make a huge list of why Thor: Love and Thunder was a terrible movie. But moving on from Thor Ragnarok being number 4 on the list, number 3, Iron Man 1, the tone setter, the best movie. Actually, we can arguably the best movie in the MCU until now. Iron Iron Man was a tone setter. Iron Man was the movie that's told all of us that, yeah, MCU is the real deal, and Iron Man was the reason why Captain America, Iron Man was the reason why Avengers, Thor, and all these characters, Doctor Strange, had a chance to create their movies, because Iron Man made it possible for MCU to literally have enough budget and money to create all these other movies. Because if, let me tell you, if Iron Man, the first Iron Man, had failed, and if they had terrible CGI, and if they had no hope after Iron Man, there wouldn't have been Iron Man 2. There wouldn't have been Iron Man 3, and I can guarantee you that there wouldn't been an MCU without Iron Man 1 and Robert Downey Jr. literally. So Iron Man 3, Iron Man 1 is definitely top 3 worthy. So Avengers Endgame is number 2, where I would think Avengers Endgame should be number 2 and Avengers Infinity War should be 1, or vice versa. They have Avengers Endgame number 2. So you're probably wondering, what's number 1 then? If they have Avengers Infinity War 15, number 15, and they have Avengers Endgame number 2, then what's number 1? Well, give me a minute, I'll get to that. But let's talk about what the critics say. Exciting, entertaining, and emotionally impactful, Avengers Endgame does whatever it takes to deliver a satisfying finale to Marvel's epic Infinity Saga. Really? So you say Marvel's epic Infinity Saga. You mention the Infinity Saga, you say, and then obviously in the Infinity Saga, Infinity War is included, and then you have Infinity War as number 15 on the list. So I don't disagree with the positioning of the movie. Number 2, it deserves to be number 2. Was very entertaining. I don't think they could have made a better movie, better finale of the saga than Avengers Endgame. Was very interesting, and I was very emotional at the end when Tony Stark died. He was my favorite character in the MCU, more than Captain America, more than all these other heroes. Thor, more than Thor, more than Black Widow, more than Rhodey, more than Doctor Strange. And when he died, it was very emotional for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people as well. But Avengers Endgame was officially the last great movie produced by MCU. When I mean great, I mean a movie that deserves 10 out of 10 ratings, and that rarely happens. And no matter how good a movie is, but this movie deserves a 10 out of 10. And same thing with Infinity War. There's not a way someone can walk into the theater and dislike Endgame and Infinity War. There's no way. There's no reason. So, guys, before I move on to the number 1, let me take a puff, because this is about to get really stupid. Really, really, really stupid. Because I don't know how there could be a better movie than Avengers Endgame. Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, they weren't even mentioned in this list, right? And how could a movie be better than Avengers Infinity War when those two movies were the 2 movies that grossed the most in the MCU. So let's see which one was the best movie in made by Rotten Tomatoes. Let me take a puff. Sorry guys, needed a puff for this. Look, I don't hate this movie, which the one that I'm seeing. It was a good movie, but it was a good movie, but very overrated. Very overrated because it was a culture movie, and people are starting to like and love these culture movies out of nowhere in America. I'm telling you, Black Panther is number one on this list. Black Panther is number one on this list, stating that Avengers Endgame was worse than Black Panther, stating that Avengers Infinity War was worse than Black Panther, stating that Doctor Strange, Iron Man 1, Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man No Way Home, Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel's The Avengers, Shang-Chi, which was a terrible movie, so I'm not even going to mention that again, Captain America Civil War, were all worse movies than Black Panther. And let's hear what the critics say. Critics say Black Panther elevates superhero cinema to thrilling new heights while telling one of the MCU's most absorbing stories and introducing some of its most fully realized characters. Really? Really? One of MCU's most absorbing stories? So you're telling me Iron Man 1 and Captain America 1 weren't the most absorbing stories? Just because Black Panther had African American had its first African American great superhero. Just because of that, it's one of the most absorbing stories. This, I'm telling you, Rotten Tomatoes is one of the most woke websites that I've seen, and a lot of people working under it are feminist, woke personalities, and that's why Black Panther was highly rated. It was very highly rated because of all that. It was a good movie. It was, I would say, I would give it 7 out of 10, right? 7 out of 10, but it's definitely not better than Endgame and Infinity War and Civil War. All those movies are rated 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, and they have rated Black Panther as number one on this list. It was a good movie, but tell me, guys, tell me in the comment section down below, was there anything unique about this movie? Something that we haven't ever seen before in MCU or DCEU or any other superhero movie? Was the origin really that different than any other movie? You can say it's a good movie. I don't disagree with that. I agree that it was a good movie. It was not a bad movie. Black Panther 2 was a bad movie. It was a terrible movie. Black Panther 1 was a good movie. But it wasn't the best movie. If it was the best movie, it would have grossed the most, right? If it was better than Avengers Endgame, it would have made more money. And then people would argue, well, you just said that it's not necessary for great movies to make the most amount of money. Okay, my counter argument for that would be that how come what did Avengers Endgame and Infinity War do wrong that made them be lower on this list that Black Panther did right? What was that? What did Black Panther do so incredibly well that it made Black Panther be the number one movie in the MCU saga rather than Avengers Endgame and Iron Man 1 and Avengers Civil War? Sorry, Captain America Civil War. Let me tell you the one thing that they did better. They introduced African Americans to the MCU. That's what they did better. They released the black superhero so they can grab the audience of the black audience of American, all the African American countries they can grab from them. That's why it's rated number one. And that's why it's rated number one, guys. I'm being serious. I don't care about woke stuff and all that, right? I really don't mind. But but it's not better than Avengers Endgame. I'll give it to you that. They did the same thing. They did the same thing to Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings after they found out, oh, Black Panther was successful because we targeted a specific type of audience. We can do the same thing with Shang-Chi, and that's why that's rated so high. Shang-Chi is rated so high in this MCU saga. Um, in this MCU top 15 list by Rotten Tomatoes. You can search this list on Google for yourself. Search top 15 movies rated by Rotten Tomatoes, and you'll find this list, which is incredibly stupid. And then they've actually have a list lower than 15. So let me see what's lower than 15. So this woke website and this woke workers have listed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 being worse than Shang-Chi. So Guardians of the Galaxy was actually worse than Shang-Chi. It was actually worse than Ant-Man and the Wasp. You can argue about that. I'm not gonna say Ant-Man and the Wasp was a bad movie, but it was worse than really Spider-Man, the Spider-Man Homecoming. Guardians of the Galaxy is, I think, the only franchise in the MCU where all three movies were great movies and all three movies were highly enjoyed by people. So they have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 as number 16 on this Black Panther Wakanda Forever, number 17. This should literally be the last. This should literally be the last in ratings as far as MCU movies. Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Critics say a tribute that satisfyingly moves the franchise forward. Black Panther Wakanda Forever marks an ambitious and emotionally rewarding triumph for the MCU. First of all, it did not get anybody emotional. Secondly, it did not satisfy anybody by the way they moved the franchise forward. They didn't move the franchise forward. They destroyed the franchise by making Black Panther's sister. Black Panther. After Chadwick Boseman sadly passed away. That's the worst thing they could have done to this movie. Literally the worst thing they could have done to this movie, and that's why this movie failed so badly. Literally, they had no story. They felt like a rushed movie. Felt like they just had to make something up because Chadwick Boseman passed away sadly. And what I would suggest to Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, before creating this movie, before making this a feminist type of crap hole type of movie, I would suggest it. How about you should have reached out to Michael B. Jordan and asked him, look, we have this plan for you. We have this ability to go back in time because we have multiverse now. There's so many different ways to bring back a character. It's not very difficult to bring back people, right? Especially in the MCU, it's not very hard to bring them back. How about you should have went to Michael B. Jordan and told him, look, we want you to come back and portray the role for Black Panther. And that movie, that would have made Black Panther Wakanda Forever one of the best movies in the franchise. I'm telling you, Michael B. Jordan as Black Panther would have made everybody come to the theater once again. I'm telling you, just think for yourself. Black Panther being portrayed by Michael B. Jordan rather than Black Panther's sister, Shuri. Which one would have gotten better ratings? Michael B. Jordan or Shuri? Tell me. Cause she didn't do anything. Her acting skills are terrible. As far as being Black Panther's sister, she was okay. She was good acting as as her as a side role. She was okay making her jokes, small jokes which were not funny at all, but she was okay as that character, but she was nothing, and she was not even close to Chadwick Boseman's acting skills. Okay, so they have Ant-Man, number 18 on this list. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, that just came out a few months ago. One of the fewer movies that came out that people actually liked. Number 19 on this list. This is how you know that good work doesn't get appreciated, and woke and stupid work and work without writing gets appreciated everywhere online, because the people that mattered on these website and in the Hollywood and Disney, they're all woke people. They're not ordinary people like us. So Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 that just came out was one of the better movies in the last 2 years after Avengers Endgame. Was actually probably one of the best movies of MCU in the last 2 years. Is rated number 19 on this. Captain America the First Avenger is listed number 20. So guys, I'm just gonna end it over here. After hearing this, after seeing this, Captain America: The First Avenger movie was rated number 20, worse than all these movies that I just told you, worse than Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, worse than Ant-Man and the Wasp, worse than um, Shang-Chi. Really? So I'm just gonna end it over here. I'm not even. I'm just at the end of the day. What I'm gonna tell you guys is this: Rotten Tomatoes is not a good indicator of what movie to watch and what movie not to watch. And I'm just gonna say that somebody just joined. Please leave a comment down below and ask me whatever you want. But we've been going through this list for this Rotten Tomato list for the last 30 minutes, rating top 15 movies, rating top 15 movies that are rated by Rotten Tomatoes. Hello, what's up? When are you gonna review the Barbie movie? Hey, Gora, how are you doing? Cora. The Barbie movie, I did mention, if you go back in the live stream, I did mention that I have seen the Barbie movie 2 days ago with my family. I have very strong feelings regarding that. Very strong feelings. I'm not gonna give you a hint, but um, I'm gonna create a movie in the near future. Give me some time. Give me a day. Give me 2 days, because I want this. I want this movie review, to be perfect. I want all the editing. I want this. I want all my thoughts clearly given to you. Is it because of feminism? It's not so much because of feminism, Cora. You're gonna, like I said, you're gonna hear my thoughts and my feelings about it in my next video, so you can check that out. But it's not only because of feminism. I'll give you some hindsight to what I think about it before I release the video. So what I think is that, if let's take the feminism and all the LGBTQ stuff out of it. Let's just take that out. After the first 30 minutes of the movie, did you not get, like, there were people literally sleeping in my movie theater? I'm not playing around. I went with my little niece. She's very young. She's young, probably 2 months young. And there were literally two people in front of me that were sleeping after the first 30 minutes. And I'm not lying. I was actually excited to watch this movie, and I've mentioned this before. I was very excited. And it's not feminism. It's just that, could you write in the comment section, like, what was the storyline? What was the plot? Like, after the first 30 minutes, what did you think that the movie was heading? Because after the first 30 minutes, I did not know where the movie's heading. Like, what's the storyline? What is Will Ferrell's role in this movie? Besides making jokes that are not funny. Like, write that in the comment section, Cora. Let me know, what did you find out? Like, how did you think Will Ferrell's role was portrayed in this. They underutilized his talent. He's very funny, Will Ferrell, and still they didn't make. I mean, it's the writer's job. It's the writer's job to make the actors funny if they're funny. It's the writer's job to um, make Margot Robbie, and the director's job as well, make Margot Robbie portray the Barbie role as perfect as she can, and they made huge mistakes while doing that. And the cast was not the problem. Margot Robbie was not the problem. Ryan Gosling was not the problem. They did what they could. And I'm gonna go in detail with you, Cora, of why I thought this movie was not what I thought it was gonna be before I went to the movie theater and watched. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna talk about it in the next movie that I release. Sorry, not the next movie, but the next video that I release. That's why, Cora. God. So, talking about Barbie infuriates me currently and for the past 2 days. The plot revolves around, let's see. The plot of Barbie revolves around a tear in the portal between Barbie Land and the real world. I can't see your message. Give me a second. I'll get it from you. Give me a second. Okay. So the plot of Barbie revolves around a tear in the portal between Barbie Land and the real world. Margaret Robbie's Barbie starts to feel thoughts of death and sadness. Okay, yes, that that plot was good actually. When I That plot was really actually good the way they had it. Um, but what happened after that is my question. That was like literally the first 15 minutes of the movie. 15-20 minutes. What happened after that? They starts feeling thoughts of death and sadness. And then Will Ferrell says um, that if we don't bring Barbie back to the Barbie world, then there's gonna be great damage. There's gonna be great catastrophe, and he fails to explain what that problem is gonna be. So Cora, tell me what do you think after Barbie comes to the real world? What's the plot after that? Like literally what was going on after that? And I'm being very I'm trying to be very discreet so you can see my in-depth analysis in my next video. But did you not feel that Barbie started acting humanly as soon as she came to the real world? She's supposed to be a plastic doll, right?